Alright guys, we got a Toro GTD 150cc Briggs & Stratton engine. The customer basically said it stopped running. Of course, you see the carburetor here. Doesn't have a filter in it. Carburetor ended up getting gunked up real bad. So basically we're going to replace the carburetor. The gas tank's off right now because I had to go get a gas cap for it. Everything else was fine. We know it's got spark. The spark plug was doing fine. Just needs, honestly, a cleanup and fresh gas. So to start with, you take a T25 Torx head and a good screwdriver. I prefer to use Hart tools. I have Hart sets and Hyper Tough sets. They are cheaper, and let's face it, you get a little bit more for your buck. So you take this screw out here. There's another screw. It's right there. They're both T25s. And as you'll see, there's a hole right here where GTD 150 is. That is actually not for anything other than a tab. So you'll take the same screwdriver, you'll stick it in this hole, and you'll pry back. What that does is you're basically pulling the cover and removing it. Yes, I'm working inside my house for right now. It got a little cool outside. I wasn't about to stand for it. I came inside. It's not that I don't mind the cold. But anyway, you'll get down to your recoil handle, your pull starter, however you want to word this. What you're going to do is you're going to take out these 3 bolts. These 3 bolts, I believe, are 5/16, also known as an 8mm. As you'll see, I've got a Hart's tool set right here. It helps me keep track. I'm not the cleanliest person, I'll admit, but for these, I can suffer. What I usually do is I take either an extension like this, or if you have them, and yes, I do have these. I do use the deep well sockets, and I have a size 8 right there. And I close the drawer back up. I bought this desk at a yard sale, and I like it, so everybody can just sit on one. You know, if you don't like it, I like it. You know, it might not be pretty, but I ain't looking for pretty. So basically, you'll get these. Did I even grab an 8? No, I grabbed a 9. Of course I did. Because I'm a freaking goofball. Anyway, the 8 is the size you need. This is a Toro 22-inch recycler, by the way, if I haven't already said that. And yes, I do use cheap tools. What can I say? I'm a glutton for saving money. Hashtag balling on a budget. You heard it here first. Anyway, what you'll do is you'll take off your recoil, and I usually just break them loose and get them off with my hand. That's 1. 2-ish. 3. Ish. Alright, so when this is off, you can just pull it up, straight up off the engine so you don't damage anything or hit anything. And it will try and wind up. The best thing to do is to tuck it down next to the engine. Alright, you see it's got everything there. And I usually just keep my stuff right here in the trough in the deck. It's cheap, simple, easy to do. Alright, so now after you get all that off, what you'll do is you'll go to your carburetor. Alright, and you'll see you got 2 sets of bolts. You've got these right here, size 8. This one. This one, if I can get it on. Alright, hold on. I'll be right back when I get these off. That's one. Oh, I've almost got two off. And yes, I know I'm using manual tools. Manual tools, I've had less mess ups with those. I've had a lot of times where I'll go to use automatic tools, leave your bolts in the trough, and I usually just put my socket right there too. On these, they actually have a round kind of tube style gasket on them, and the two silver bolts actually line up with the carburetor. Now with this, you can choose to take these off first, or you can just pull the carburetor. For the sake of argument, I'm just going to go ahead and get my screwdriver back. It's got a 1/4 inch. It's got a 1/4 inch head on it. It's one of those bits, the bit hands. And I'm going to go ahead and get these. Oh, no. It's a little bit bigger than that. It might be a 7. Let's see here. I gotta love Hart tools. They are awesome. There's a 7, and it is a 7. This Hart tool set I got at Walmart. It's got just about everything in it. But you go back to it, bust them loose. Like I said, I use a lot of hand tools. I use a lot of hand tools to get these done, because you really don't need to torque everything down a million times over like you would with a car engine. Once again, put your screws where they need to go. And then you pull the carburetor housing off. You can choose to clean that up. I'd recommend it. A little bit of water doesn't hurt. Then you come up here. You see I've got a vacuum hose and my wife eating in the background. And I've got pretty much a choke. It's run off of some kind of system up here. I done forgot what kind of system it is exactly. Everybody say hi. Hi. But it's my wife. But you see you got your pretty much your governor to adjust your choke. And you see inside's kind of really dirty. This is what happens when you don't have a good filter on it. But to take these off, you slide it out, and you saw it just kind of came loose. It is a tube style filter, and it has an O-ring gasket on it. What you'll do is you'll disconnect right there, and then you got to take the top out. The top, you fish it up. Let me see if I can get this right there. All right, so you see up in here. There we go. All right, so you go up, over, and out. All right, you'll take this carburetor and trash it, because it is so gunked up that it is not operating fully. Most times I recommend just going ahead and replacing them, and you'll see this O-ring. This seals the carburetor on the back side. It's not a bad idea, because once everything's tightened up, it creates enough pressure that it's not going anywhere. And you can see that O-ring is actually in pretty decent condition, so we may save that for another project. All right, so I have right here the gasket and a brand new carburetor. It's so wonderful. You see my new O-ring down in here. Got my new O-ring, and if you didn't see it, I'll tell you where it's at. I just decided that I really didn't need that fuel filter. There was a fuel filter that dropped to the ground, and this actually came in the kit. What I'll do is I'll use that on another project too, because this system really doesn't need one. But as you can see, everything else is still here. It is identical. It is exactly identical, you know, to the carburetor that we took off. Always make sure whatever you're purchasing, even if it's an Amazon part like this, the guy really wanted to save him a little bit of money, but always make sure that whatever part you're getting, no matter if it's an Amazon, an eBay, wherever you end up deciding to buy your products from, always make sure it is a fit for what you are doing. I know that this is a good fit. I've checked it out. I've looked at it. I've pretty much done everything I needed to do on it. As you can see, it's exactly what I'm looking for. All right, and then you'll take your O-ring. You'll slide it back on. And you'll take... Oh, turns out I don't need that O-ring or that plastic piece, because this came off. I'm sorry, I made a slight mistake. My mistake was not paying attention, which does happen to us all, so don't judge me. But this, I got a knife. Y'all don't freak out. Once again, thank you, Heart. Please subscribe to my videos, y'all. I am balling on a budget. But as you can see, I'll teach you how to do everything you need to know. But you go ahead and you pull this plastic cap off. You won't need it. You see how kind of dirty that is. The reason you won't need it is because I misspoke. What I did is there's actually already an O-ring and everything in here for this to slide on like it needs to. But my dummy self, I decided I wasn't going to pay attention to that. So, basically, do everything in reverse. I didn't break anything. I only dropped it an inch. But do everything in reverse. First things first, put this piece on. Second, put this piece on. You got a governor and an idle controller. At least I believe that is a governor. I didn't do all the research I usually do on these. So what you'll do is you'll line this up, which is a giant pain to do this on the phone, but I'm going to do it. Let me see, 1 second. All right, so basically, well, that's got to go back in, but that just slides right back in. So anyway, you put this piece right back in that little controller right there. You slide this back in the top. Sometimes it might be a little bit rough. Don't freak out. You know, some of these parts aren't super million exact fit quality, but they do fit. So if you're forcing it, something's wrong. Once you get that, you see you got your controller, you got your what I call a governor. I'm probably wrong, but you know, mistakes have always been made. Anyway, you'll make sure your snorkel, your vent for your carburetor is everything, and it gets lined back up. Make sure it is lined back up. Please do not force anything. It's going to be a nice tight fit. All right, because it's got that rubber gasket. It's going to be tight fit. All right, so next thing, you make sure you got that cleaned up. I also did purchase a brand new filter for the air cleaner. I got a brand new spark plug. I typically don't use those unless I need to because they're cheapos. They'll get you through a little bit, but the filter and the housing were my main concerns. And so let's open that up and we'll go ahead and get this more installed. For the sake of this, I'm just going to put everything back together real quick. First things first, go ahead and get that vent back on. And then line up all your other bolts. What I like to do is I will line up the main bolts off the carburetor first and then use it to kind of walk the carburetor inward. So the two bolts that I used were the size 7mm. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to line them up, then I'm going to put y'all back up here. stare at that wonderful wheel. Alright, so got these two on. And like I said, this is a size 8 for these, or a 5/16. And what I'll do is I'll hand thread them first. Make sure they're not cross threaded. You know, if you're having a hard time reaching in like I am and don't want to drop anything, if you've got just a little bit on there, you take your size 8 and use it as an extension of your fingers. Just get it to where it's in there. You can take your other piece of your bolt, go ahead and get it just where it bites, take your size 8 and go ahead and self-tighten it right here. Alright. I'm sorry, I'm using a phone. I haven't gotten enough put together to go ahead and have a camera, but y'all see, I'm doing what I got. Balling on a budget, man. Balling on a budget. But typically with my repairs, I usually, like I tell you in my other videos, at least a few of them, you'll hear me talk about 3 F's. Fuel, fire, and F and air. You know, F&'s PG for it, you know, but y'all know what I mean. If you're not getting one of those 3 things, then you're not going to have a running engine. Typically, the carburetor is a result of having one of those 2 problems, and your spark plug. Basically, if you follow your spark plug on a riding mower, you have a few more things going on than, you know, just a spark plug or just a carburetor. But I find that a lot of times those are the same. And I'm shooting this in real time, y'all. Doing this with manual tools. You know, doing my thing. And usually I don't videotape these, so it's me holding with one hand and working with another. But I've got enough strength in my one hand that I can alternate from one hand to the other. You'll make sure the 2 8s are tight, and that basically seals the O-ring gasket on the back of the carburetor in. You can see I ain't got any room to wiggle. Then you get your gas tank. The gas tank I decided to go with was the gas tank that was originally on it. That was a gas tank that was originally on it. I cleaned it up, washed it out real good. Dawn dish liquid does pretty good. Just make sure you clean it out. It was missing a gas cap, so I had to go to Lowe's to pick up one. All the gaskets and rings and all that was still good, so I kept going with that. And with this, there's 2 things that have to happen. First thing is, you see it's not sitting all the way down. I did that on purpose because I have to find out where I put my needle nose. And of course, they're in my back pocket. What you'll do is you'll open up, if you've got Leathermans like I do, you will open up your Leathermans. You will guide this on. I'm going to put y'all down again. And I'll talk to you while I'm doing this. You will take your Leathermans and you will move the ring, your clip ring, to where you can access it with your gas tank actually down. And what you'll do is you'll bend the hose down enough to where when you slide it, you still have something to hold on to. Doing that, you will make sure that you are in your grooves. This gas tank actually has slotted grooves, which is neat but strange. You know, I'd rather just secure it to a firewall or something, but that's on an actual lawnmower, not on this. This is a push mower, and push mowers don't have all the fancy firewalls that a riding mower would have. But I digress. Alright, so while I'm working on getting this gas tank down, I am working the fuel line a little at a time on each. Making sure I have everything where it needs to go and all the way on like it needs to be. And now I've got it down, so I'm going to show you how I did that. As you can see, it's got grooves that it sits in here and here next to your flywheel. Alright, and then here you've got a fuel line that runs up to your carburetor. And y'all, like I said, you want to make sure you have a good, solid run-in with your carburetor. And I may not have one. I'll probably have to move the fuel line just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just